Hi everyone, we have been practicing extracting recipe information from a block of HTML source code that resembles what we might see on a website like Epicurious that has recipe information. So the premise that we're working with is this idea that we have some ingredients and we'd like to check what recipes are compatible with those ingredients. So we're going to build a Python function to do that eventually, but this video is focused on one step of that process, which is specifically to check for matches in the collection of ingredients. Okay, so remember, we already have an object called recipes. Okay, and that object can be found right here. Okay. This is a beautiful soup object, and within this object we have multiple tag and class combinations with some associated text. One of the things we're going to be looking for is the title of the recipes. That's going to be part of our output. We're also going to be looking for the ingredients, of course. So the ingredients are multiple in each recipe, right? Each recipe is a block of source code, and within each recipe we have multiple list items. Okay, so we're going to be using a find all when we need to access all of those list items. We're going to put them into storage in the form of a list, so we can then cross-reference that list with some input of ingredients that we want to check. Okay, so this has a number of steps and I want to break them down slowly. Okay, first thing, we're going to have a sample list to check. We'll call that ingredients to search, and we'll start with butter and sugar, two very delicious ingredients. So that's always going to turn out well, I think, when that's our starting point. And we're going to iterate through. Then I'll break this down in pieces like I often like to do. Let's comment out all of this code and just focus on one portion at a time. We'll uncomment parts of this as needed. Okay, so remember, recipes is an object that's already defined, the one that I just looked at and highlighted. I'm going to set up an iterative variable. I'll call it recipes, and then I'm going to iterate through, create a title object within the recipe, right? Which again, a recipe is a block. Let's just print that. Okay, so let's just print recipe and see what we have. Okay, so remember, if we print recipes, this is what we get, and this is one such recipe, and then we have multiple. Okay, then let's access the title object, and then let's print the title. Okay, and I'll do this without the dot text just to start with, and then we'll add that back later. Okay, print the title. There we go. So we have all of the title elements with the paragraph, tag, and the class equal to title. That's what developers use for their styling. And remember, if we add the dot text, we get to see just the text that would be rendered on the web page. Okay, great. So we're all set there. I don't need this print statement anymore. It's a development step. All right, let's look at the next piece. We'll just uncomment this, ingredients. Okay, so we're going to use a find all because there are multiple list items in the source code, and each one is an ingredient. So let's print the object that we're creating here to see what we have. Okay, so ingredients. Okay, so remember that is the elements, and they're in a list, of course. So there's one item, there's another item. Okay, so that's all of the ingredients. Now what we want to do with the next step is put these into a format that we can then cross-reference using some of our Python strategies. So I'm creating an empty list called ingredients list. I've repeated words here, but let's make sure we understand. Ingredient is our new iterative variable that we're creating in this declaration. Ingredients is the result of doing that find all. That's this content right here. So we're going to iterate through that object, append to the empty list the text version of each element. So basically the dot text extracts this portion of the source code in every case. And we're going to use the dot lower, so the lower method will convert every character to lowercase, and that makes sure that's a nice safeguard to make sure that the input list of ingredients will match the lowercase version of the ingredients contained within the source code. And we're also going to convert these list items to lowercase, so that makes this process case insensitive. Okay, all right, let's run that. And then of course we want to take a look at the object that we created, so I'll print the ingredients list. Whoops, not a plus sign, we want underscore. Okay. Is that what we want? Okay, and there we have it. So now we have just the list. Notice they're all strings. And is everything now lowercase? Yes, everything is now lowercase. Okay, good. All right, next piece, we're gonna set up our matching process. So let's comment all of this. We'll comment portions as needed, but it'll be helpful to see what's happening at every step. This process is going to involve setting up several, well, 2 to be precise, Boolean variables that can change, right? So they can change from true or to false depending on what conditions are met, or from false to true depending on conditions. Okay, so I'd like to explore this with you. So we're going to say matching, we'll start up with matching equal true, and then we're going to iterate through the ingredients to search, which is going to be supplied as an input. We're going to set up another placeholder called found, started off equal to false, and then another for loop, a nested for loop for item in ingredient list. That's each of these elements here. We'll check if the ingredient that is converted to lowercase. Okay, so again, we're going to be converting all of the elements within this input list, and why don't I even change that to uppercase to prove that this works. Change all of them to lowercase, and then for I in item, okay, item is going to be one element in the ingredient lists that we just created. If there is a match, we'll set the found placeholder equal to true, and then we'll stop the for loop. If we do not find an item in the collection of ingredients, we're going to set matching equal to false to indicate that there is not an ingredient in the collection of ingredients extracted from the source code, and then we will break the for loop. Okay, so let's run this to make sure we don't have any errors. Okay, good. Okay, so that's our filtering process, checking for matches. And now we get to see if this is working. Okay, so if matching, that means if there is a match, if this was set to true appropriately, then we're going to print the title of the matching recipe, and we're going to print the ingredients in the matching recipe as well. Let's run that. Okay, it looks like it worked. I'm just getting some extra output from this development step.